Ian Murray, we know there are pressures on the system in Scotland. Things are slightly different. But the core demographics are the same, that we have an increasingly ageing population, often with multifaceted problems, who are more expensive to take care of and are living longer.
Well, look, that is the big challenge. But the problem we have in Scotland at the moment is the throughput you talked about earlier. More people are going to acute hospitals because there's a GP crisis in Scotland. There are fewer GPs, surgeries are in special measures, there's people closing their lists. So ultimately, if you can't get a GP appointment, you go to A&E. People worry about their loved ones, and that's what happens. Older people, when they go to A&E or go into hospital, spend much more time there because we can't get them out the back door. And the reason we can't get them out the back door is because our social care system, which is run by local authorities, is under severe strain because they've gone through tens of millions of pounds of cuts in their budgets. We've got a Scottish government tomorrow that's passing a budget that transfers another £170 million of cuts put through by the Greens to our local services, which means that we're not going to be able to get older people the social care packages they deserve. These are the key issues, and we need to have a debate about how we fund them, and we've proposed how we fund additional services and how we don't take any more of these cuts. If you've got more people going in the front door and they can't get out the back door for social care, you've got a crisis on your hands. And with the demographics of Scotland, which are much older than England and Wales, that can only be a time bomb that's going to explode much sooner. We need more investment and not a budget passed tomorrow that puts another 170 million of cuts to local government.
Jim Wallace, you have been in government, you have sat in those chairs and you've had people coming to you saying, we need more money for X, Y and Z. Is the truth that unless we are willing to pay far more in taxes, we are not going to get the Rolls-Royce health service we might like?
Well, I think there is an issue, and we have often said, we've said it in the past on education, but I think equally a case could be made for health. That perhaps an extra penny on tax, which I think my colleagues in the Scottish Parliament supported, could actually be diverted to the health service. But I think we've all got to accept, and as long as if we try and make party points about this, we're not actually going to get to grips with it. One of the real problems, you've got people in hospital beds, particularly elderly people in hospital beds. There's no clinical, medical reason why they should be there. It's just that the provision is not there with social care to let them get out of hospital and get back into their own communities. I think we need, it's not just money, we probably also need better structural integration of social services and health services. We were talking about that when I was in the Scottish Parliament, and I think we need to actually try and get some real progress on that. And the other big issue on health, which we've got to address too, is mental health. I mean, children, we identified, my Liberal Democrat colleagues identified children with mental health problems have been waiting a year for treatment. I mean, that's just not acceptable. So I do think, along with the other issues, mental health is the one which we've really got to get a grip with.
Is it the time now that perhaps cross-party we do something that doesn't happen normally? You, the politicians, say, right, let's try and take this out of the political firing line. Let's have an all-party discussion on health, social care, where we can make some sensible decisions, and if we come up with something radical, we won't be shot down by our political opponents.
Personally, I would be in favour of that. Whatever reforms we need to make going forward can't just last the lifetime of the next Parliament or the next government. No, they have to be far-reaching reforms that will last for a generation. So I personally am not Health Secretary, I'm afraid, but if it was down to me, that's exactly the sort of thing I'd be looking at.
Well, none of us are going to say no, we shouldn't be talking to each other. Of course we should. Take it out of the political arena, the party political arena, as long as what's on the table is not privatising the health service, as I think that is what's on the table down here. But let's look, I mean, we've got something like, we talked about structural changes needed, we've got something like 500 new advanced community nurses being trained so that we can stop people having to go into hospital in the first place. They can be treated in the community. That's a good idea. You know, anybody that comes forward with a good idea, yes, of course we should be listening. We can't just stick to party political messages.
Ian Murray, is it now time to say, OK, look, let's take this out of politics, frontline politics, argumentative politics. Let's try and do something new to look ahead, because it's so important.
Well, I think all four of us would agree that better integration of health and social care has to happen, because while we've got these silos of the NHS dealing with acute patients and then local authorities dealing with health and social care after particularly elderly people are taken out of the system, then there is a problem. So we do have to think about a cross-party approach to health and social care, and I think we all agree that that has to happen. The difficulty is, and I will make a party political point here because it's important, we tried to do this when Andy Burnham was Health Secretary down here, and there was an agreement in the room, and as I understand it, by the time that agreement had got into being in print, the Conservatives have produced a billboard calling it a death tax. So there has to be trust in this too. And the second thing that has to happen is there has to be an agreement of the problems before we can seek solutions.
Jim Wallace.